I was standing by the roadside, savoring some skewers with great enjoyment. At the same time, just as expected, I saw my girlfriend Elizabeth show up in Nicholas's WeChat moments. The caption read, "The food you make is the best cure in the world." After being stood up by Elizabeth so many times, my heart had long since gone numb. I was even thinking that I should just break up already and let the two of them be together. Chapter 01. I bit into a piece of beef tendon, watching the name, Elizabeth, flash on my phone screen, feeling only that it was slowing down my skewer eating pace. I was about to ignore it when my palm accidentally brushed the screen and answered the call. Left with no choice, I picked up, annoyed. "What is it?" Elizabeth's voice sounded completely natural, without the slightest hint of anything wrong. "There's something going on at the company. Sorry, I can't spend time with you again today. I'll make it up to you another day." I finished the last bite of beef tendon and picked up a grilled mushroom skewer. "Oh, okay, got it. It's fine." She sounded a little puzzled. "Where are you?" I glanced around. The place was loud and crowded, definitely not the kind of noise you'd hear at Swan Banquet. Oh, I suddenly felt like having skewers. So, yeah, grilled mushrooms really do taste better this way. Why do you always decide things on your own? I had a friend reserve that place for us. If you don't go, you're wasting their effort. What am I supposed to say to them? She was clearly unhappy. Then just tell your friend the real reason you didn't go. I'm sure she'll understand. What real reason? What nonsense are you imagining now? I sighed. Is Nicholas feeling any better? Her voice dropped, and she sounded a bit guilty. How do you know? No, it's not like that. Listen to me. No need. I get it. If I don't eat the skewers now, they'll get cold. See you. I hung up. Handsome guy. Your grilled eggplant. Oh, thanks. Ah, garlic grilled eggplant, my favorite. As for why Elizabeth stood me up this time, you didn't need a brain to figure it out. On the way to Swan Banquet, I had seen a post Nicholas made. It's mealtime, but I feel awful. No appetite at all. Don't feel like eating anything. So I had the driver turn around and head straight to the food street for skewers. It had become a conditioned reflex by now. Ever since Elizabeth got familiar with Nicholas, she had always put him first. Nicholas was originally a newly hired office clerk at Elizabeth's company, a fresh graduate full of youth and energy. Her evaluation of him went from "he's unbelievably stupid, sometimes I really want to fire him," to "he's actually pretty hardworking, and his life isn't easy." I knew right then that she had developed feelings, and at some point, no idea when, it started. Whenever Nicholas ran into trouble in his personal life, Elizabeth would be the first to step in and help. I watched it all happen, powerless and helpless. It wasn't like we never argued. We did, plenty of times. But every answer she gave was always so light and dismissive. "He's just a student who just graduated and doesn't really have friends here. I'm just caring about an employee. Anniversaries aren't that important anyway. If you really care, I can make it up to you later." But he had stomach pain, so I had to take care of him. You've had stomach pain before too. You should understand how uncomfortable that is. Right? You only twisted your ankle, but he had a fever. You do know which is more serious, don't you? So I became immune. I stopped caring. Being stood up was nothing, among all those things. It barely even counted as a big deal. Chapter 02. When I got up the next morning, I actually saw Elizabeth in the living room. That was pretty rare. In the past, whenever this happened, she would usually leave straight from Nicholas's place. She didn't show any particular reaction when she saw me and said casually, "I got back too late last night, so I slept in the guest room." I responded with a simple, She paused, then added, "You got up kind of late too. Guess there wasn't time to make breakfast." I replied flatly, "I'll eat on the way." She smiled. "That's a shame. I kind of miss those light breakfasts you used to make." My hand rested on the bathroom door handle. "What's there to miss? Didn't you already have breakfast?" After saying that, I closed the door. I used to get up early every day to cook for her. But ever since Nicholas forced his way into our lives, she gradually stopped eating breakfast at home. After getting dressed, I was about to head out when I looked up and saw her standing there. Her expression complicated. "I've been pretty busy lately, so I haven't had breakfast at home. From now on, I'll try to eat at home more often." I smiled. "No need. I want to sleep a little longer." That extra half hour of sleep today made me feel completely refreshed. She looked at me, hesitating as if she wanted to say something. Just as I reached the door, she finally rushed over and grabbed my hand. I looked at her. She pressed her lips together. "Yesterday, I only found out later about the post Nicholas made. He didn't have any bad intentions. Nothing happened between us, don't misunderstand." Even knowing that Nicholas had posted that update, she still defended him. In the past, whenever I showed even the slightest dissatisfaction with Nicholas's behavior, she would frown and say I was being unreasonable or narrow-minded. If I argued back, she'd get impatient and accuse me of having dirty thoughts, insisting that she and Nicholas were just pure friends, nothing improper at all. I smiled faintly. I was already used to her taking Nicholas's side. Seeing that I didn't react, she continued, I know you were upset that I stood you up yesterday, but Nicholas suddenly got sick and wasn't feeling well. You know he's all alone here with no family or friends. I pulled my hand free and said calmly, I know, I understand. Can I go now? If I stay any longer, I'll be late for work. She pressed down on the door handle again, her tone growing irritated. I told you, there's really nothing between us. Why are you still sulking? And I already said I believe you. So why are you still stopping me? I'm really going to be late. I'm leaving. I didn't bother with her reaction and walked out directly. Chapter 03. When I got home in the evening, I headed straight for the bedroom, grabbed some clothes, and got ready to take a shower. As I passed by the study, I heard Elizabeth's voice coming from inside. Send it to me. I'll help you do it. It's fine. This isn't much work. I can finish it quickly myself. Haha. All right. I'll treat you to a meal sometime then. I knew it. Elizabeth was helping Nicholas with his work again. Once before, I had asked her to help me grade my students' exam papers. She dragged it out for 2 days, and when I finally asked about it, she snapped impatiently on the spot. Can't I relax and have some fun on the weekend? Your own stuff is your responsibility. Helping you is a favor, not an obligation. In the end, I stayed up late working overtime to finish it myself, but after Nicholas joined her company, there were many things he didn't know how to do, and she lowered herself to personally help him handle everything. When I asked her about it, she said, it's normal for someone who just entered society to not know a lot. Weren't you the same when you first started teaching? Thinking of the exam papers, I had a huge fight with her. In the end, she said coldly, at least helping Nicholas is for my company. What exactly do I get out of helping you? That Cold War lasted a long time, but clearly, I hadn't drained the water from my brain, because I still forgave her after a half-hearted apology. After showering, I went back to the bedroom and started watching a TV show on my tablet. A while later, the bedroom door opened. I looked up. Elizabeth climbed onto the bed with a somewhat helpless smile and hugged me. You're home and didn't even call me, just went off to entertain yourself. Your wife just finished working and is really hungry. Why don't you ask Nicholas to cook for you? Her body stiffened, and her expression darkened. Why do you have to drag Nicholas into everything? Can you stop thinking so dirty? I put down the tablet. No, not really. You helped him with work for so long, him cooking for you would just be returning the favor. Right, paying back the debt. She froze. You heard that? Then she frowned. I already said Nicholas just entered society. It's normal for me to help him. Right. And this is for the company too. Only if the work is done well can the company grow. You have a share in the company too. To put it another way, only if the company makes money can I give us a good life. Why can't you understand that? She did remember that I had invested my parents' inheritance into the company. But when I asked her to fire Nicholas, she said, I'm the boss. Are you the boss? I replied calmly, I really don't understand. All I know is that if our school had a teacher who'd been there for over half a year and still couldn't handle basic teaching, they would have been fired long ago. Elizabeth let out a long sigh. Fine. I'll urge him to get familiar with the job, and I'll try not to help him anymore. If you have any student assignments in the future, you can give them to me. I'll help you handle them. Is that okay? Anyway, I'm hungry now. Husband, go make me a late-night snack. We haven't eaten together in a long time. She coaxed me ingratiatingly. Clearly, she still remembered that incident from before. No need. You were right back then. Everyone should handle their own things. Besides, I already ate outside before coming home. Order takeout yourself. Her face went cold instantly. After 2 seconds of silence, she turned around and slammed the door as she left. Chapter 04. After that day, Elizabeth and I slipped back into a Cold War. But unlike before, when every Cold War left me anxious, distracted, and unable to focus on anything, I was ridiculously happy these past few days on my own. And unlike before, I definitely didn't swallow my pride and beg her to make up the very next day. However, at 9 o'clock one night a week later, her best friend Roxana called me. The message was brief. Ezekiel, come to the bar near the company. Elizabeth. I hung up before she could finish. That group of co-workers turned friends at her company never liked me anyway. They thought a middle school teacher like me wasn't worthy of Elizabeth. This young, capable, independent woman. Whenever Elizabeth occasionally brought me to company gatherings, they'd basically shove me aside. Even when they talked to me, it was always laced with sarcasm and backhanded remarks. I couldn't even stop smiling. If I did, Elizabeth would accuse me of being a sore loser. Looking back now, I was honestly pathetic, but I have to admit, I kind of deserved it. Roxana kept calling. I rejected the call, then blocked her. After that, I started calling real estate agents to schedule apartment viewings. Within that week, I picked out a new place. The apartment I was currently living in belonged to Elizabeth. Not only was it close to her company, it was also far from my school. Waking up early every day left me groggy and drained. Most of the time I had no energy at all. Colleagues at my school even advised me to see a doctor because my complexion looked genuinely awful every single day. With a schedule like that, how could I possibly be okay? Chapter 05. After Roxana was blocked, her friends started calling me one by one. I had just hung up with the agent when another call came in. I was about to block this one too, but when I saw the caller ID, Luna, I answered. Among that group, Luna had always been the kindest to me. She never joined her friends in throwing shade my way, so I figured I'd return the courtesy. She spoke cautiously. Ezekiel, Elizabeth's really drunk. She keeps calling your name. Could you come over, just for a bit? Have Nicholas pick her up. I'm genuinely busy. Packing was no small task, but today's Saturday, and honestly, there really isn't anything going on between her and Nicholas. Suddenly, a loud crash came through the phone, followed by Elizabeth yelling, "Hang up, why are you calling him? What's there to explain to him?" Not wanting to put Luna in an awkward position, I hung up first. After finishing packing, I collapsed onto the sofa and casually scrolled through WeChat moments. Sure enough, Nicholas didn't disappoint. He'd posted an update. Feel bad for someone drunk like this and her boyfriend doesn't care. Guess I'll have to step up as a lowly employee. The attached photo was Elizabeth asleep. I felt strangely calm. After putting my phone down, I even had the random urge to give the post a like. But packing had exhausted me. When I lazily picked up my phone again a bit later, I couldn't find that post no matter how much I refreshed. At that moment, I heard the sound of a key turning outside the door. When the door opened, Elizabeth, who was supposed to be dead drunk, stood in front of me with a dark, icy expression. Chapter 06. Ezekiel, you're really something. Are you determined to keep being this stubborn with me? I didn't do anything, did I? I genuinely didn't understand what she was accusing me of. Your girlfriend got drunk. You didn't care at all and even told another man to pick me up. In the past, whenever we fought, you'd come looking for me the very next day. This time it's been a whole week, and you haven't sent me a single message. Her eyes were bloodshot as she stared at me. There was even panic in them, because after some self-reflection, I realized I should give you some space. I said unhurriedly, and telling Nicholas to pick you up was also part of that reflection. I trust that you two are just pure friends. Isn't that a good thing? Elizabeth couldn't find any words. Her chest rose and fell rapidly. I stood up, ready to go back to the bedroom, but she grabbed me. Let's go get a late-night snack. There's a new spicy restaurant nearby. She wanted to just sweep the Cold War under the rug like this. Just as I was considering whether I should take this chance to lay everything out and break up cleanly, her phone rang. It was the exclusive ringtone Elizabeth had set for Nicholas, once my recurring nightmare. I'd asked her to change it. She said she couldn't be bothered. I said I'd change it for her, and she blew up, yelling that I was overstepping. There was a time when just hearing that ringtone made me want to smash her phone. Elizabeth reached out and rejected the call. That genuinely surprised me. Normally, no matter how important things were, if it was Nicholas calling, she would drop everything to answer. But Nicholas was persistent. One rejected call was immediately followed by another. I smiled. Go ahead. Answer it. Elizabeth pressed her lips together. No, I'm taking you out for food. Then will you block him? Elizabeth froze on the spot. Otherwise he'll just keep calling. How are we supposed to eat? She hesitated, then still answered the call. After listening for just a couple of seconds, her expression changed to panic. After hanging up, she said anxiously, Nicholas has gastroenteritis. I cut her off. Go. Elizabeth looked at me deeply. I'll be back soon. You have to wait for me. Then she turned around and left without hesitation. Chapter 07. Of course I didn't wait for her. Instead, I slept soundly, got up the next morning without rushing, and calmly made myself breakfast. After eating, I went out to look at apartments. I felt a bit regretful. If I'd finalized a place a few days earlier, I could have moved out today. Before viewing the apartment, I happened to notice that my phone had over a dozen missed calls and dozens of messages. I must have accidentally put my phone on silent earlier. Luckily, I hadn't missed any important work messages. There were messages from Elizabeth. She explained that Nicholas's condition was really serious, so she stayed to take care of him all night, but nothing happened between them. Nothing happened between us. Please believe me. Can you reply? On top of that, there were unexpectedly messages from Nicholas too, dozens of them, which startled me at first, but when I opened them, they were basically the same content sent over and over. Bro, Elizabeth held me and comforted me all night yesterday. She really knows how to take care of people. And you were guarding an empty bed again, right? Honestly, what's the point of clinging to a woman who doesn't love you? Don't wait for her. She definitely won't be back this morning. He used self-destructing messages, probably afraid I wouldn't see them, so he kept resending. I replied helplessly with a single line. Saw them. Stop spamming. Careful you don't pass out. He went quiet for a moment, then suddenly sent several normal messages. Those earlier messages were sent to the wrong chat. They weren't meant for you, Ezekiel. I was just joking with friends. Sorry. I know I shouldn't trouble my boss. I absolutely won't do it again. Ezekiel really loves you. Please don't fight because of me. He sent variations of those lines more than 10 times. Then stopped messaging altogether. Elizabeth, on the other hand, sent another message saying Nicholas was still weak and she needed to stay with him a bit longer. I'll definitely be back this afternoon. I blocked her. Chapter 08. Even though I'd run into something unlucky, the apartment viewing went incredibly smoothly. We signed the contract quickly, and the landlord handed me the keys on the spot. Turns out she was also the owner of a moving company. When she heard I was relocating, she directly called in one of her company's moving trucks and even gave me a discount. Carrying the luggage I'd already packed, I left the apartment I'd lived in for years without a shred of nostalgia. Not long after I finished cleaning and organizing the new place, I received a flood of messages from unfamiliar numbers. Ezekiel, you moved out. Didn't I tell you to wait for me to come back? Please, calm down first and just listen to me, okay? I swear I'll keep my distance from Nicholas from now on. I'll transfer him to another department and stop having him work by my side. Please believe me one more time, please. After reading a few, I blocked that number as well. Chapter 09. However, when I got off work on Monday, I saw Elizabeth waiting at the school gate. The good mood I'd managed to keep for 2 whole days vanished instantly. Dark circles hung under her eyes, and she looked utterly worn out. The moment she saw me, she rushed over and grabbed my hand. I know I was wrong, Ezekiel. That night Nicholas was on an 4-drip all night and still very weak in the morning, so I stayed a bit longer to observe him. There really is nothing between us. I already told him, once his sick leave ends, he'll move to another department and won't be my assistant anymore. So could you give me another chance? She looked at me pitifully, not wanting to draw attention. I led her to a quieter corner. I looked at her and said calmly, when you were taking care of him, did you notice that he was on his phone? Elizabeth froze for a moment, then said, oh, that. I asked him to explain things to you. He said you only replied with that one message, so you were probably angry. Ezekiel, he might have crossed a line a bit, but he really didn't have any bad intentions. What kind of explanation needs to use self-destructing messages? She didn't look surprised, just smiled helplessly. He explained that too, said he was playing around with that feature out of boredom with friends and accidentally sent it to you. He's just a scatterbrained kid. The messages were unrecoverable and left no trace. I hadn't even had time to take screenshots, of course. I had no evidence to show Elizabeth. She looked at me pleadingly. So, Ezekiel, husband, could you give me another chance? I swear to God, I have absolutely no other intentions toward Nicholas. I stared at her steadily. Do you know what was in those self-destructing messages he sent? I repeated every single message Nicholas had sent to me. Elizabeth first looked incredulous, then turned awkward. Ezekiel, I know you don't like him. I really will keep my distance from him from now on. I can do that. So, she paused, then lowered her voice. Please don't say those things anymore. She didn't believe me. She thought I was slandering Nicholas out of jealousy. I took 2 steps back, my mind completely calm. Maybe deep down I still had a trace of affection left for her, but her words erased even that last bit. Elizabeth, there's something I've been meaning to say for a long time. I'll say it now. Elizabeth stiffened, panic flashing across her face. Don't say it. Your company has already stabilized, so at this point, it shouldn't be a problem if I withdraw my investment. Her eyes filled with even more panic. Why would you suddenly pull out? You said your money would always stay with me. Husband, I won't ask for more than what's fair. I just hope you'll give me a reasonable price. And then, husband, don't say it. I know you've been upset lately. I'll buy you. We're breaking up. I interrupted. Chapter 10. After that, Elizabeth came to my school every single day looking for me. I ignored her every time. When she tried to follow me back to my new place, I told her I'd call the police. Only then did she stop, standing there watching me walk into the subway station. But my place wasn't some secret base, so it didn't take long for her to find my new address anyway. Seeing her in my residential compound after work genuinely startled me. Her eyes were bloodshot, her hair a mess. She looked even worse than the last time I'd seen her at the school gate. Ezekiel, I don't want to break up. She rushed over and hugged me tightly. We were so in love before. How did things end up like this? Her voice was already trembling with tears, but I felt nothing. If anything, I almost wanted to laugh. Can we make up? Can you move back? These days without you at home, I can't eat well or sleep properly. Only now do I realize I really can't live without you. I pushed her away and said coldly, I'm not moving back. This place is close to my school and transportation is convenient. She hurriedly said, I can drive you. From now on, I'll take you to work every day, rain or shine. I shook my head. You said the same thing when I first moved into your place, but later, She complained that driving me to school was a detour and cut into her sleep time. After a while, I stopped asking her to drive me at all. She looked flustered. I'm sorry. Back then the company was struggling, and I wasn't in a good headspace. I promise I'll pick you up and drop you off every day from now on. I sighed. Forget it. What's the point? Besides, you still have to drive Nicholas to work, don't you? I'll talk to him. I'll tell him to take the subway himself from now on. Line 5 just opened there anyway. My teaching workload has been heavy lately. We'll talk if there's time. I was really tired and didn't want to say any more. Chapter 11. Elizabeth still refused to give up. She actually rented the apartment right next door to mine and started getting up early every day to make breakfast for me. In the evenings, despite always being a workaholic, she somehow managed to get back early every day before I got off work, cook dinner, and ask me to come over to eat. I mostly ignored her. She didn't get angry either. Occasionally, when I was in a rush in the morning or too lazy to cook after work, I'd begrudgingly go over for a meal. She'd be happy beyond belief. That day during dinner, she kept glancing at me repeatedly. I wanted to ignore it, but it was honestly killing my appetite, so I asked what was wrong. As soon as I spoke, she put down her chopsticks and looked at me seriously. I've thought it through. I really handled things terribly before. I admit that during that time, the pressure from the company was overwhelming, and I wanted to find somewhere to relax. Even though I'm absolutely sure I never fell for Nicholas, emotionally, I did stray. I'm sorry, husband. I'll talk to Nicholas, compensate him properly, then let him resign. From now on, you'll always come first. I won't value anyone more than you. So, she looked at me cautiously. Can we not break up? Her eyes were full of affection. I, on the other hand, instantly lost my appetite. If she'd said this earlier, back when we still fought, I probably would have cried with joy on the spot. I put down my chopsticks. Just as I was about to speak, a phone ringtone rang abruptly. It wasn't my phone. It was Elizabeth's. I instinctively glanced at the screen. The name, Nicholas, was flashing nonstop. It was Nicholas, not Nicholas, and that ringtone. I've already deleted the special ringtone I set for him. Elizabeth ignored the call and stared at me nervously. Husband, believe me, I really am changing. I neither agreed nor disagreed. I only asked. You're not answering it. She shook her head frantically and immediately rejected the call. I mean it. From now on, you'll absolutely be my top priority. Then answer it first, I said indifferently. Only after that are you qualified to talk about from now on. She stared at me blankly, then clenched her teeth. Okay, I'll make things clear with him right now. Chapter 12. Elizabeth failed to make things clear with Nicholas because he broke down crying on the phone, saying he was going to kill himself. She spoke incoherently, saying that a human life was at stake, but that she would definitely explain everything to Nicholas and asked me to wait for her. Naturally, I didn't stop her, nor did I suggest calling the police to handle it. She gave me one last worried look, then walked out without looking back. I returned to my own apartment, and soon after received a message from Nicholas. Old man. She still came to me. Go ahead and be mad. Serve you right if you're furious to death. Nicholas had been quiet as a mouse these past few days. I'd known he wouldn't behave himself for long. Sure enough, he'd been holding back something big for exactly this moment. What he didn't know was that I deliberately never blocked him, precisely because I was waiting for this. Before going to bed that night, he sent several more messages. She slept with me. Why aren't you talking? Smashing walls and throwing things in rage. Bro, I didn't want to send this before bed and ruin your rest, but I really couldn't hold it in. I know you're reading. Why not reply? Are you really that furious? The way you stubbornly refuse to admit defeat is honestly pretty ugly. Let go early. It's better for both of us. Finally, he sent a nude photo of the two of them in bed. By the way, she's really wild in bed. Bet it's been a long time since you experienced that. I shrugged at my phone. Chapter 13. When Elizabeth rushed back, she happened to see me heading out to throw away the trash. I'm sorry, husband. I broke my word again, but I've already made everything clear with him. He'll resign next Monday, and he won't appear in our lives ever again. If you're still angry, I can move out and wait until you cool down. Please don't leave. Okay. I was surprised she suddenly said that, then quickly realized she must have seen the suitcase sitting in my living room behind me. I looked at her and smiled. Never appear again. Did Nicholas promise you that? She hurriedly said. I was the one who brought it up. I told him not to disturb us anymore. Elizabeth, just for this one night, you changed clothes, and judging by your appearance, you even washed your hair and took a shower, didn't you? Her eyes flickered, because it took a lot of effort to persuade him to let go. I worked up a sweat, and I was afraid I'd smell and bother you, so I showered first. I sighed. Elizabeth, I really did love you once. She became emotional. I did too. Husband, I still love you very much now. If that's the case, then I hope you can respect the time we once loved each other. Calmly, I sent her several videos, She opened them in confusion. After just one glance, she froze in place like an ice sculpture. They were screen recordings of the photos and messages he'd sent me the night before. I'd started recording my screen the moment his messages came in. Elizabeth's eyes went hollow and despairing. She slowly crouched down, covering her face with one hand, choking as she said, He said he wanted to have what he once had. As long as I satisfied him this one time, he'd disappear from my life forever. Ezekiel, you're not going to forgive me anymore, are you? I answered with an unrelated sentence. Think carefully about the shares. Chapter 14. In the end, Elizabeth bought out my shares at a very generous price. Nicholas was not present that day, most likely because Elizabeth had strictly forbidden him from showing up. I'm the one who wronged you, Ezekiel, she said. She looked haggard and exhausted. The neighborhood you're living in now has a great location. You don't need to move again. I'll be the one to leave. Naturally, I wasn't planning to move anyway. I'd packed my luggage that day because I had already resigned from my teaching job and planned to take a break and travel around for a while. And just as she said, that neighborhood was in a great location. Even without commuting to work, it was still very convenient to live there. Before we parted, she hugged me tightly. I'm sorry. I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. My shoulder was soaked with her tears, but all I felt inside was irritation. Chapter 15. On the day I left, while waiting to board at the airport, I received another message from Nicholas. Elizabeth and I got our marriage certificate. Really wish you could come to our wedding, but you're probably off on some heartbreak trip, so I guess that's not happening. Elizabeth even said she's going to transfer the company's legal ownership to me. Don't be sad though, you'll definitely find someone suitable for you in the future, like some twice or thrice divorced 80-year-old grandma. It seemed he was far from happy about Elizabeth buying my shares at such a high price. He was clearly doing everything he could to get under my skin. I glanced at another notification, a bank alert showing a transfer of over 10 million. The sender was Elizabeth. I estimated it was probably most of her assets. Well then, looks like Nicholas would have to fend for himself from now on. I smiled, replied to him with a simple wish you happiness, and then blocked him as well. Chapter 16. 3 months later, when I returned from my travels, everything had changed dramatically. Luna told me that after Elizabeth transferred the company's legal ownership to Nicholas, she gave each of their friends a large sum of money to leave the company. After that, she let Nicholas make whatever reckless staffing decisions he wanted. Elizabeth also took out loans everywhere to start new business ventures. By the time Nicholas finally realized what was happening, the debt on his shoulders was so massive he couldn't repay it even in 10 lifetimes. He snapped. He demanded that Elizabeth pay off the debts, claiming they were joint marital liabilities. Elizabeth sneered and told him that when they registered the marriage, she had used a fake ID, so the marriage certificate was invalid. Nicholas then claimed he'd seen Elizabeth's pregnancy report, but she remained completely unmoved and said she'd already had the child aborted. In his breakdown, Nicholas got into a violent fight with Elizabeth. The two of them ended up tumbling down the stairs together. Nicholas suffered a high-level spinal injury, leaving him paralyzed, and the injury also destroyed his sexual function entirely. Elizabeth hit her head. By the time she was rushed to the hospital, it was already too late. Luna begged me, "Please, Ezekiel, I know Elizabeth did you wrong before, but could you, for the sake of what you once had, come and see her one last time?" Thinking about the money sitting in my bank account, I agreed. On the day of Elizabeth's funeral, I went. Unlike me, she was an orphan, so the funeral arrangements were handled by that group of friends. As scenes from our past together replayed in my mind, I felt utterly calm, as if those memories belonged to someone else. Looking at the photo in the black frame, I felt like I was staring at a stranger. I realized that whether it was love or hatred, I no longer felt even the slightest emotion toward Elizabeth. After lining up to offer incense and bow, I quietly left the funeral. Goodbye, Elizabeth.